Hey guys, how's it going? It's Wes here again. So today we're going to be building that planter box that I talked about. And I'll show you a little sneak peek right here. So let's get started. Let's look at some of the materials that we're going to need. So here's some of the steel that we're going to be using. It's 2 by 2 by 1/4 inch thick angle iron. And then we have to have some 2-inch flat. And then as for the tools, we're going to need some clamps, a grinder, a couple of drill bits, something to mark with, tape measure and a square, obviously your safety equipment, gloves, welding hood. A cut-off saw is very handy for this project. And then some of your discs for the grinding. So we've got a cut-off wheel, 1/4 inch rock, a wire brush, and a tiger paw or a flap disc, whatever you want to call it. We always call it a tiger paw in my trade. You'll also need a welder. I have the Miller Bobcat. You don't need this particular welder. You can actually do this with a MIG welder if you'd prefer. But I'm going to be doing it on a stick welder. So let's get into it. All right, well, I got my notes here, and I'll put these on screen right about up there somewhere. Looks like our box is going to be 28 inches tall, 36 inches long, and 18 inches wide. And then the part where we're going to put the soil in is going to be 18 inches tall. So we're going to go ahead and cut all of our pieces. All right, let's get them cut. All right, so we've got our cut list. Looks like 4 of them, 28 inches long. Okay, we got our legs done. Now, let's see what else we've got. We need 2 32 inches long. And then 2 of them 17.5 inches. It's important that your sides are exactly the same. And these are. Alright, so we've got all of our steel cut except for the feet, and we'll do that at the very end. I'm not going to worry about that right now. So let's get the broom, clean up our mess, and we'll start welding her out. So these are our next pieces that we're going to build. None of this is welded together yet. We'll want to make cuts like this on our cross braces for the middle. I did film that, but we lost the film. So It'll end up going together just like this. That way it stays flush with the top. All right, so what we're gonna do is the first weld that we're gonna make is right up there. So let's get this stuff out of our way. And what we need to do is we need to square it up. Leave yourself a little gap, but you want these top two flush. When you put that square on there. And we'll put a tack here. And we'll pull that square out of the way. Put our tack. And then after that's done, we'll square it up again. And I'll show you a cool trick on how to do that. Okay, so we got our first tack put on. Now what we're gonna do is put our square up against this piece, and then we'll measure over here and put it right on an even number. So we're right on 4 right now. Then we'll come all the way out to the end and measure it again. And if it's the same, which it is, then we're good to go ahead and weld it out. That tells you that it's perfectly square. All right, so we got her squared up. I'm gonna put my other tack on the bottom, and then we'll connect this piece. All right, so we're just welding her up, we're squaring up the other side. That's an old pipe fitter trick, that square and the tape measure. And it'll be perfect. It'll be more accurate than if you put levels on there. A little persuasion always helps. Now we're welding up all of our seams. And off to build the next piece. It's going to look identical to that first piece. Then they're going to connect together as soon as we get this one welded out. Our cross braces will be next. And that's what we got right here. Got to square them up. You want to go both ways too. And it's always better to just put tacks on first, as you'll see here in just a minute. Well guys, we've got an issue. I jumped the gun, welded all this part up, and then I went to put on this side, and you know what happened? It bowed in just a little bit. So I think that we can get her out of there if we tack up this side, and then I'll probably have to step on this, put something in there to get it tacked up. But it's not a total loss. But if you're doing this along with me at home, just put tacks on this whole side until you get the whole thing tacked together. It's what I should have done, but I was trying to get it done a little quicker. And then after we get this tacked up, we'll put our cross pieces here. And then we've got one going right here. And those are those pieces of flat that we were talking about. Right in there like that. So let me get this tacked up and I'll be right back. We got her fixed. I got that all tacked up now. And now what we're doing is these cross braces for the tops. And that's where your clamps come into play. It helps when you got a bigger clamp too, like this screwed clamp down here. Because it was, with me beating it around and fixing that warp that was in there, well, it threw that out of whack. So it was out like this, so I put the clamp on the bottom and then tightened her up, and it brought her back to where they were parallel with each other. So I'll throw some tacks up here, get another one tacked up there, and then we'll finish welding it up. And then this is what's gonna be, it's what's gonna hold all of our wood and the dirt and everything. And then we'll have this much room on the bottom for, that's what makes it an elevated planter. All right, see you in a few. All right, we're just putting some tacks on the top. We'll get it tacked up first before we get it all welded up. Now what I'm doing here is moving the screwed clamp to the other side and making sure that we're straight parallel with each other. Just take a tape measure, measure your bottom, measure your top, and then make them equal. And once you get that tacked up, you're ready to weld it all out and finish up all the welds. All right, guys, we're back. We got her the rest of the way welded out, and I gave it a couple minutes to cool down. So now what we're going to do is we're going to buff out all the welds with the wire brush, and then on the outsides we're going to take the tiger paw and we're going to smooth them out to where it looks like it's all one piece. And then we can paint it, and then we can throw our wood in there. So stay tuned for the hyperlapse. That tiger paw really helps out a lot whenever you're doing this. It takes off a lot of material at one time, and it makes it nice and smooth too. Right now I'm just wire brushing getting all the slag off of the welds. It's important to get all that off of there, because whenever we paint it, you don't want that chipping away, and then you'd have a bare spot on your metal and the water will eat right through it. So we got the tiger paw on, and then this happened. It's smoking, guys. I think this one's toast. We're gonna have to make this a two-part series. And I've been wanting a Milwaukee grinder anyway, so I think I might just go get me one. But yeah, I was grinding, and then all of a sudden it started bogging down. And that's when it started smoking. I seen some flames shoot out of the end, and I thought, you know what, I probably better quit using that. It's hot as heck out anyway, guys. So when we come back next week, I'll have a new grinder, and we'll grind the rest of these welds up and put the wood on, and we'll get that planter set in place, and we'll call her good. Well, see you guys. Thanks for coming.